think the biggest issue facing future generations is depersonalization via the internet. It breeds a lot more problems than just human interaction. It's depersonalizing, I guess, humans from the world, not understanding the ramifications of decisions.
War. Definitely war.
I think the biggest issue facing future generations is the way we handle juvenile justice. I think a lot of times acts that are done at school that used to be taken as like, oh, just kids acting up, like kids getting into a fight in the schoolyard, like, oh, boys should be boys, are now taken as criminal acts and they're like really harshly punished.
I think communicating is the biggest problem that future generations will face. Nowadays, we spend so much time on our phones and on social media that it really takes away from the time that we spend talking to each other.
The responses we received weren't anything unexpected. At a quick glance, it is easy to see issues that we as the current population are facing now. But instead of looking at issues that have been ever present throughout our lifetime, what if we looked at problems that are just now coming to the surface?
I think that the biggest issue that our future generations are going to have to face is global warming because it's happening and it's happening fast.
Global warming is a huge issue, but do we know what the #1 cause of global warming is?
So my calculations are that without using any gas or oil or fuel ever again from this day forward, that we would still exceed our maximum carbon equivalent greenhouse gas emissions, the 565 gigatons, by the year 2030, without the electricity sector even, or energy sector even factored in the equation, all simply by raising and eating livestock.
Animal raising is using all of our resources, especially grain, water, and land. 91% of the Amazon has been cut down and dedicated to the business of animal agriculture. Eating an animal-based diet requires 18 times more land than a plant-based diet and 16 times more land than a vegetarian diet.
1/4 pound hamburger takes 660 gallons of water to produce. That's equivalent to 2 months of showering, or enough drinking water for one person for over 3.5 years. $216,000 people are born every day. And in order to feed these people, we need 34,000 new acres of farmable land a day.
The majority of population rise is happening in developing countries where animal agriculture and sustainable practices are using up all of the resources. Here are Indian children who have resorted to making food from grass in an effort to avoid going hungry.
The world has seen incredible rates of population increase before, and much of the technology and practices we use today in agriculture are thanks to the responses to this problem.
In 1812, there were 1 billion people on this planet. By 1912, that number had moved up to almost 2 billion. However, by the year 2011, that number had skyrocketed to 7 billion people on this planet.
Scientists knew that starvation was a very real problem facing almost 1 billion people. In response to this came the Green Revolution. The introduction of heavy pesticide and herbicide use made crops nearly indestructible. Crops were able to thrive in areas thought to be food deserts. But these incredible rates of success came with numerous externalities, like eutrophication, higher use of fossil fuels, cancer, hypoxic environments, water contamination, and the like. These are effects we are just now beginning to feel, yet the practices introduced during the Green Revolution are still widely used today. There has been an increase in company awareness when it comes to these issues. One organization that stands out in particular is Food Alliance. By educating farmers, distributors, commercial buyers, and consumers, Food Alliance works to support sustainable food and agricultural practices.
There are a lot of ways that the consumer can impact the well-being of the planet. Most of them include community involvement. For example, farmers markets, protests, and gardening.
As a consumer, you have a louder voice than you realize.
Largest contributor to every known environmental ill known to humankind. Deforestation, land use, water scarcity, the destabilization of communities, world hunger. The list doesn't stop. It's an environmental disaster that's being ignored by the very people who should be championing.